I don't really know what to do for a voiceover for this, so I'm just gonna like talk about random stuff until I decide to like call the video complete. So after doing all those like portraits of each BTS member, I was like, okay, now I want to do something kind of like cartoony, relaxed, something that's like much more not painterly, something that I can like relax with. So I was like, you know what's fun? A group photo. So like right when I decided let's do something fun and cartoony, I threw that right out the fucking window. Still made it cartoony, but I drew like a bunch of people. I was kind of focusing on how to make this look almost like a graphic or like something more design oriented instead of like an illustration. And so I was like just thinking about like what effects I could use and like how to like organize them, what I can put on the table in front of them. And like as I was drawing this, I was like trying to figure out like what facial, like what, I was trying to figure out what expression fits them the best for each one. So for like Jimin, he has like a very, very like contagious, nice smile, and it makes me happy every time I see it. Like when he squints his eyes like really, really tightly shut. When he smiles, he's got baby cheeks. Yeah. And then with Jungkook, he has like a very, like a glowing smile, kind of. Like, and notice like when they interact together, like they're always like laughing, having a good time. So I was like, you know what, they're gonna be interacting in this. Jin, I did not draw him well in this one at all. Then again, in the portrait that I did of him, I fucking hate it. I might have, like, I'm considering redoing that one and Jimin's because I am not proud of them. But yeah, for Jin, I always imagine like since like that old joke in like Among Armies that like, oh, he's like a mom and stuff, so I was like, yeah, very like sort of adult type of feel, like lecturing kids or something. Then I kind of like changed that to no, he's just having like a civilized conversation kind of. And with Namjoon, like every time I see him, he's always like serious and like kind of like flat face, like not, I wouldn't say expressionless, but it's just like hard to read what kind of emotion he has. So it's like he's very calm and collected. And there's this gif that I saw of Suga, and I wish I could find it, like I'm probably gonna search for it while I'm editing this, but it was like one where he's just like, you know, talking, and then suddenly he just like opens his mouth and eyes really wide and goes like, I don't fucking know why. Like, I think about that very frequently. It makes me laugh. So I decided to like use that as a reference photo for him. And for his eyes, I wanted them to be kind of like, I was gonna try to draw that face exactly, but then it seemed kind of like not like how he typically is. Like, there's always people being like, wow, he's so cold, so like stony, and like mean. I'm like, no, he's not, but he's very reserved and collected, I'd say. And I felt like that expression didn't really match who he really was. So, like, instead of like erasing it completely, I decided to just like make his eyes more relaxed, and then I was like, oh wow, that like fits him perfectly. I noticed while drawing him that none of the members actually look like themselves, except maybe Jungkook, because you can draw literally anything and it'll look like Jungkook as long as it's smiling. Yeah, so oh my god, while I was drawing this, I was like, oh man, who are the other members again? And literally, I forgot about like my favorite person here. I forgot about J-Hope. And then I was like thinking, and I was like, oh yeah, he exists too. And so I drew him, and I really like his relationship with V, and I like how they're like really close friends. So I decided that he would be like hugging V because he's like a very happy, positive person, and he's my hope, J-Hope. I love him a lot. And for V, I struggled so hard trying to figure out like what expression for him to make, because most of the time, like when I see pictures of him, he looks like he's lost in the fucking underwear section of a Walmart. Like he always looks confused or just very serious. But I wanted this to be a very like fun kind of like social interaction between them all. So I didn't know what expression to use, so I looked at pictures of him smiling, and he has that like really goofy boxy smile, but I don't know, I could not draw that. Like I was struggling really hard with it, and then eventually I just drew like a random face, and I was like, oh, that works. So I went with that instead. As for colors, I didn't know if I was actually gonna finish this one or not, leave it as a sketch, and then I decided to color it because coloring stuff is actually like my favorite part of doing any kind of work. So, well, I mean, for coloring, lining, I hate doing line work a lot. It's like something that I really need to work on, but since I hate it so much, I like never do it. Because I struggle with like line weight for edges, really. Because with doing typical paintings, I only have to worry about if there's rim lighting or like how hard or soft to make the edges, but with line work you have to figure out the weight of the line and how thick or thin it should go in certain areas. And then as I was drawing it, I kind of just thought, well, it's like easier if I kind of give it like a very heavy line weight all throughout, so that I don't have to focus on those like slight shifts in line weight messing up the composition or features. So I did that. And as for colors, I colored the background first, and my like instinct was, I was thinking about their album covers, really like the one for Persona, so that's where I got that bright pink from. And then the whole Love Yourself thing, all the albums of Love Yourself, and how they were like, they always had that solid color, but they always had like in the lines and strings of like the shapes on the cover, there was always like some pastel going through it, and it was typically either like a pink or blue, maybe sometimes like a yellow or green. So I wanted to just like put like giant blotches of that in there, so it seemed almost sort of like, I don't know, like lights behind them, like concert lights maybe. But then I was like, wait, it's funky and fresh if they look like wobbly. So I did that instead. And okay, as for coloring them, I didn't really look up clothing references for them. I just kind of like was thinking about what kind of outfits their personality fits. And for Jimin, he wore this like denim jacket on an airplane one day, and he posted a selfie of it on Weverse, and I really liked that. And so I gave him like a kind of like off-white t-shirt and like denim jacket. Yeah. Oh, important. As for skin tones, I didn't want to make them all the same skin tone, because I feel like it's important, like especially when you're depicting somebody who is like a minority from where I'm from. The more individualized they seem and less of like cookie cutter image, the better it is, like representation wise. And also when you look at all of them, they're not all the same skin tone. Like of course, like, it's very hard to tell with, like, lighting and stuff in certain photographs. But something that I've always noticed is that, like, of course, Suga is, like, the palest, and V has, like, I'd say, like, the most tan. And so I was just kind of, like, looking at, like, pictures of them on my other monitor, and, like, trying to decide what the best, like, shade and, like, tone their skin would be. And I was typically sticking in, like, anywhere from, like, an orangey yellow to, like, an orange red color. And I kind of like how it's this weird effect that I was, like, looking at it, and it's all just, like, the very subtle, like, shifts in, like, color between their skin. It looks very, very nice, and I really like how it came out. And as for hair, it's hair. I mean, Jimin's right now is sort of like a kind of brown color. Like, it's close to his natural, but it's, like, a little bit lighter. Jungkook has, like, his natural hair going. Jin's being funky fresh and having purple hair. I don't know if RM changed his hair color recently, but I know in, like, June or so, he had, like, sort of blonde hair, so it gave him that. Suga, he's also going for his natural hair color. J-Hope, he's got brown too, and I believe V does as well, sort of like almost the same color as Jimin's, except it's, like, a little bit different. I don't know. Okay, all I can say is that their natural hair color, I prefer that, like, so much more than, like, all, like, the wacky colors that they go for. It's great. Like, if, like, going for, like, brighter colors and different hues makes them happy, go for it. But, like, when they do, like, concerts and shows and stuff, and Big Hit makes them change their hair color, I prefer it when they've got, like, their natural hair color, because it seems more, like, legit, like you're actually watching them and not, like, the front that they're putting up. If that makes any sense at all. Yeah. So that's their hair color. Back to, like, the clothing colors. Yeah, I went over Jimin's. Jungkook, when he wears black, I'm like, wow, I'm fucking gay. So that's the story behind that. Jin, he looks really good when he wears, like, white shirts. Then Namjoon, when he went to Festa 2018, he was wearing, like, this sort of, like, I wouldn't call it a cardigan, but it was like a jacket of some sort, and honestly, that was a whole fucking look for him. I loved it. So I drew that. Yoongi, Suga, Mr. Min, Yoongi, when I think of him, I'm like, this man would probably prefer wearing something that's, like, edgier, darker. So I was like, he's gonna get, like, a black jacket and maybe, like, a darker shirt. And yeah, that was my whole thought process behind his. J-Hope, also a light shirt, and V, also a light shirt, because I've been noticing with, like, a lot of the photo shoots that they've been taking recently, they've all been wearing, like, very light or pastel clothes. And as I was drawing this, I was, like, sort of, like, thinking about, like, I drew a spoon in Jin's hand, and I was like, okay, now let's, like, draw some type of food on the table or something to give it, like, a Festa vibe. And then I looked, and then I was just kind of sitting there, like, I don't know how to draw food. Especially not in this type of cartoony style. So I suffered for a bit and, like, avoided doing that. And then eventually I was like, you know what, okay, just put some shit in front of Jin, and just, like, Sprite in front of J-Hope, because, you know, Sprite. And then for Jimin, it's no secret that he's like probably a borderline alcoholic or party kid. So I just put like a bottle of beer, not bottle, glass of beer in front of him. And I decided, like, instead of going for like a harsh color for them, like for like the Sprite bottle and the beer, I was gonna use like an opacity shift on it so that you can get the sense that there's like something inside of the glass and that it's clear. And I really like how I executed that, especially with Jimin's alcohol. And in the end, I threw I threw overlays on them with I went with a pink one at first, and then I was like, you know what if I try like double overlay? And I did that, and I like how it came out. So one was pink and the other one was yellow, and it made this very like nice orange tone over it. It felt sort of like reminiscent, sort of, yeah. And then I felt like something was just like lacking in the photo, and I was just like thinking, and I was like, what if I just give them shadows, like try to do cell shading for once in my life? So I did that, and instead of like putting it like all over the front of them, I just chose like parts of them to put it on, and the drop shadow on the table was just following the shadow on each member. So like at the edges of each member, like where the shadow would end and like the normal color would begin, I'd use that as the drop shadow instead of like their entire figure. And I kind of like how I did that. So that was this, and as you can tell, I did not watch the speed paint as I recorded this. I was just thinking about it the entire time, because I don't script anything out, and I'm horrible at, editing in general. So, yeah, I hope you enjoyed this. Have a good day.